Have you ever wondered who you truly are? Beyond your name, your body, your thoughts, and even your memories. We spend our lives chasing identities, building stories, and trying to hold on to fleeting moments. But deep down, a question remains. Who am I really? This question has echoed across centuries, and for those who dare to follow it to its end, it opens the door to something timeless, something infinite. In today's video, we'll explore Nisargadatta Maharaj's key teachings, from the nature of the self, to the illusion of the ego, to the practice of self-inquiry and the freedom of living naturally in awareness. Let us begin with the foundation of his message, the true nature of the self. 1. The nature of the self. The core teaching of the book rests on self-inquiry. Who am I? The self is beyond body and mind. Nisargadatta emphasizes that we mistakenly identify with the body-mind organism, leading to suffering, fear, and limitation. The real self is untouched by birth and death. The self is pure awareness, the witness of all experiences. Thoughts, sensations, emotions, and perceptions come and go, but awareness remains constant. The self is ever present and immediate. One does not need to create or attain it. It is already what you are. He uses the metaphor of the sky. Clouds, thoughts, body, personality may appear and disappear, but the sky, pure awareness, remains vast and unaffected. Realization is simply abiding in the awareness that you are not the changing phenomena, but the changeless witness. 2. Ignorance and bondage. Nisargadatta describes ignorance, avidya, as the mistaken identification of the self with the body-mind complex. From early childhood, conditioning leads us to believe, I am this body, I am this name, I am this person. This false identification creates bondage, fear of death, craving for pleasure, avoidance of pain, and endless cycles of desire. The ego, a constructive thought, acts as the false center of life. It claims ownership over experiences, my body, my feelings, my success, but in reality, it is just a bundle of habits and conditioning. Ignorance is not a lack of knowledge, but wrong knowledge, a deep conviction in something that is not true. Liberation is not about gaining something new, but about removing the veil of ignorance. 3. The process of realization. The journey to realization is not a physical or intellectual one, but an inner awakening. Nisargadatta outlines essential steps. Self-inquiry. The constant questioning, who am I, exposes the unreality of identification with body and mind. By negating what you are not, the true self shines forth. Discrimination, viveka. The seeker learns to distinguish between the eternal self and the transient body, thoughts, world. Anything that changes cannot be the self. Detachment, vairagya. By recognizing the fleeting nature of worldly pleasures, desires lose their grip. Realization requires freedom from compulsive identification with possessions, relationships, and status. Meditation and abideness. Meditation is not about concentrating on objects, but resting as the witness. Nisargadatta emphasizes simply being aware of awareness itself, which leads to stabilization in the self. 4. the nature of reality. Reality, according to Nisargadatta, is non-dual, Advaita. He draws a distinction between appearance and truth. The world is real in the sense of being experienced, but its reality is relative and transient. The absolute reality is the self, pure consciousness, which does not change or perish. Just as a dream appears real while dreaming, but dissolves upon waking, the waking world too is seen as transient upon realization. This does not mean rejecting the world, but understanding its true status. The self alone is real. The world is a play within it. 5. The role of the Guru in grace. Nisargadatta acknowledges the critical role of the Guru, spiritual teacher, in pointing the seeker inward. The Guru is not a person, but the living embodiment of knowledge of the self. The true Guru awakens the disciple to their own self, not to dependence on an external authority. Grace flows naturally when the seeker is earnest, humble, and devoted to truth. Grace does not mean something given from outside. Rather, it is the opening of one's heart to recognize what is already present. 6. Devotion and surrender. Although Nisargadatta is known for non-dual teachings, he also emphasizes bhakti, devotion. Surrendering the ego to the self is a key aspect of realization. True devotion is not to an external God, but to the inner reality that is one's own true nature. Love and knowledge are not separate. Love for the self leads to knowledge, and knowledge of the self blossoms into love. He advises seekers to cultivate faith, humility, and dedication to the path, while avoiding pride and self-importance. Liberation, moksha. What is liberation according to Nisargadatta? Liberation is not going to heaven, attaining supernatural powers, or acquiring new knowledge. Liberation is the direct realization that you are not the body-mind, but the eternal self. The liberated one lives free from fear, desire, and attachment. They still act in the world, but without clinging to outcomes. Liberation brings peace, equanimity, and spontaneous compassion. He stresses that liberation is not something to be postponed. It is possible here and now if one turns attention inward and abides as the self. 8. Practical guidance for seekers. Nisargadatta's teachings are not merely abstract, but deeply practical. Some key instructions include: observe the I am. He often says, stay with the sense of I am, the pure feeling of being, before it is colored by identity. Drop concepts. Intellectual understanding is limited. Truth is realized in direct awareness, not through endless debates or theories. Be earnest. Sincere longing for truth is more important than rituals or philosophies. Detach from habits. Selfish desires, addictions, and attachments reinforce the ego. Freedom requires letting them go. Abide in awareness. Regularly return to the witnessing state until it becomes natural and effortless. 9. The transformation after realization. What happens when realization dawns? The ego dissolves. One no longer lives as a separate me. The world is seen as a passing show within consciousness. Fear of death vanishes, since the self was never born and cannot die. Compassion and love flow spontaneously, as the sense of separation is gone. Life is lived in natural simplicity, without striving or clinging. Such a person is called a Jivan Mukta, liberated while still alive. They may appear ordinary outwardly, but inwardly are free and established in peace. 10. Comparison with other paths. Nisargadatta situates his teachings within the wider Advaita Vedanta tradition, but offers a sharp, experiential approach. Unlike purely devotional paths, he emphasizes direct self-inquiry. Unlike ritualistic or ascetic approaches, he says realization is not about outer practices, but inner recognition. Unlike intellectual philosophy, he insists on direct experience over conceptual understanding. Thus, his path is immediate, uncompromising, and accessible to sincere seekers. 11. Key themes repeated. Throughout the text, Nisargadatta repeats a few essential truths in many ways. You are not the body. You are not the mind. You are pure consciousness. All suffering arises from false identification. Realization is recognizing what you already are. The repetition is deliberate. It chips away at deep conditioning until the truth is seen directly. 12. Relevance for modern seekers. Although written decades ago, the teachings are timeless and highly relevant today. In a world of stress, anxiety, and materialism, his words point to inner peace beyond circumstances. His directness cuts through spiritual confusion, offering clarity in a landscape crowded with philosophies. He addresses not only monks, but ordinary people, showing that realization is possible for anyone, regardless of background. The book serves as a practical manual for self-discovery in daily life. Self-knowledge and self-realization is both a map and a mirror. It maps the path from ignorance to liberation, while also serving as a mirror in which the reader can recognize their true nature. Nisargadatta Maharaj's uncompromising insistence that you are not the body, you are the self, is the central key. The book dismantles false identifications, points to the ever-present awareness, and encourages seekers to abide in the truth until realization dawns. Ultimately, the message is simple yet radical. You are already free. You are the eternal self. Only ignorance hides this fact. The task is not to become something new, but to see clearly what you already are.